Hi there, this is Ruben from Dutch Round 1. Thanks again for coming by, thanks for watching another episode. As always, I appreciate your time and I appreciate your support. Alright, so basically today we will do something different than usual. We'll take a look at the 5 best ways to learn Dutch or any other language for that matter. But before we do that, remember to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you want more content, and let me know in the comments if you found this useful or not. But without much further ado, let's go straight for the 5 best ways to learn Dutch. So before we start, I would like to speak to you a little bit more about my background. Well, I'm a translator, interpreter by profession. I do speak 6 languages fluently, so I've had to learn quite a bit of languages, and also I do teach Dutch online on various platforms. So that's a little bit my background. Basically, the first way to improve your Dutch and one of the best ways to learn Dutch sounds quite harsh, however it's quite useful. It's basically refuse to speak English. Now, many of my students, they complain about the fact that when they try and speak Dutch in Belgium and in the Netherlands, the local people automatically answer in English. Now that is true in the Netherlands and in Belgium. If we see somebody trying to speak our language and we see them struggling, we will automatically switch to English. That is not really a good thing, especially for the student. Basically, just keep speaking Dutch and maybe give one of the following responses. Kan je alsjeblieft Nederlands met mij praten? Can you please speak Dutch with me? Or, ik studeer Nederlands, dus ik zou graag Nederlands praten. I study Dutch, so I would like to speak Dutch. Of, kunnen we verder praten in het Nederlands? Can we continue to talk in Dutch? Please. Alright, so the first one, and this is very, very common for Belgium and the Netherlands, local people will switch to English when you try to speak Dutch. So try and avoid that and keep pushing. Although you're struggling, although you might not feel very comfortable, just keep pushing and try to speak as much Dutch as possible and ask people to keep on speaking Dutch with you. So we go to the next one, and the next one is called immersion, right? Immersion, well, scientists, they have found that children learn language by listening to the sound of the language. And adults can do the same too. It's true, in order to learn grammar, in order to learn structure, you need to do a little bit more than just immerse yourself into the language. You need to learn a couple of rules and so on. But however, just listening to the radio, listen to podcasts, watch television series with or without subtitles, and try and listen into daily conversations. This will help you pick up the Dutch. This will help you get familiar with the sounds, or maybe help you to pick up some words too. So of course, immersion is how children learn languages, and they learn them quite fast, faster than adults, because adults tend to compare different languages with their own native languages, which kind of slows them down. But it can also work for adults. So immerse yourself as much as you can into the language. Listen to as much radio content, podcast content, watch series, and try and listen into daily conversations. And I'm sure it will help you on your way to be a better Dutch speaker. Then we go to the next one, and the next one is basically vocabulary is king. I've studied quite a bit of languages, and every time when I had to learn a language, we were always motivated by our teachers to learn as much vocabulary as we could. For instance, if I did during French, we had to learn every day. We had to learn 10 new words, 50 new words. Spanish was the same, 20 new words a day, 100 new words a week, and so on. Of course, these were intensive language courses, intensive language studies. So maybe you shouldn't be as strict as we were at the time, but try and learn 10 new words in a certain time frame. It can be a day, it can be 3 days, it can be a week, it can be longer, but try and up that vocabulary. And then when you learn that vocabulary, don't make it something abstract, all right? Try and use them in your daily conversations. If need be, just invent sentences just to use that word. And this way, you will learn quite a bit of new words, new vocabulary, and your Dutch speech will also be way more fluent, and you'll have more confidence in what you are saying. So vocabulary is king. For me, if I learn a new language, I always start with as much vocabulary as I can, because you will see that in the next point. But the most important thing for me is, if you speak another language, is that people understand you. Then afterwards, when you have a basis, you can focus on perfection. All right, we will go to the next one. All right, so the next one is get to know the culture. Very important. It's maybe not really learning languages on your desk or in a library or behind your computer or in a study room, but it's a great way to learn language. So join some of the cultural events. So try and do some fun cultural events in Belgium or in the Netherlands, wherever you are, and have some fun with the locals. Get to know what they pride themselves for, get to know what they find important in their culture, and I'm sure you will like your new country better. Maybe not, but it's at least worth to give it a try. Because when you feel more affinity towards a culture, you'll automatically find the language easier to learn, in my experience. For instance, when I learned Spanish, I lived in Spain for quite a bit, so we did quite a bit of cultural events. I remember we went to Feria de Abril in Sevilla or in Seville. We went to Las Fallas in Valencia. I did the Camino de Santiago, so the St. James Way. Of course, there's many other cultural events about Spain I could say, but just to give you a few examples. And I met many locals, and I learned a lot of new words. Maybe not the best ones, some of them were quite doubtful, but it helped me a lot, and I really got, I felt a great affinity for the culture, and I noticed that my language was improving very, very rapidly also. So join some cultural events, and I'm sure if you like it and if you grow an affinity toward the culture, I'm sure your language skills will get better. Okay, and then basically the last one, which is also a very important one, is speak whenever you can. Don't fall into the perfectionist trap. Okay, I've got many students also, and it's great, it's very noble. What they're trying to do is they try and form a sentence as perfect, as grammatically correct as possible, and that should be the aim. However, when you start to learn a language, you cannot have that level yet. So try and speak the language, although you struggle, although maybe you don't feel comfortable, although you're afraid to look silly. Well, remember that the person listening to you might struggle the same way as you in your native language. So you're not alone. Everybody has to start somewhere. But try and express yourself as much as you can. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I still make them. I speak many languages fluently, but none of them, apart from my mother tongue, I speak perfectly, because speaking another language, if you're not born with it perfectly, is a very difficult thing to do. Not impossible, but very difficult. And in the beginning, as I said, the most important part is to be understood. If you say something, people will understand you. It's best. And people generally, although in Belgium we try to switch, or in the Netherlands we switch to English very, very often when somebody's trying to speak Dutch to us, people generally will respect your efforts, and they'll be impressed that you are learning their local language. So don't fall into the perfectionist trap. Try and speak as much as you can. Don't be afraid. When you go to the baker, when you go to the supermarket, when you go to the bank, although it's going to take a little bit longer in the beginning, after a while it will be faster. So get over maybe the first nerves, like they say when you go to a theater, break a leg. And I'm sure you'll be fine. Just don't break a leg for real. That's not that good. Anyway, so these were the 5 best ways, in my opinion. Of course, it's in my opinion. I'm sure other people maybe have different opinions about it, but for me, these are the best ways to learn a language. I hope it was useful for you. I hope it helped you on your way. It maybe gave you some hints on how to approach Dutch as a foreign language. I want to thank you again for watching. Remember to give it a like if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content, and let me know in the comments if this was useful for you or not. I wish you a great rest of the day, and stay tuned for another episode of Dutch Round 1. Ciao.